Okay, let's see. Test, test, test. Audio looks good. Video looks good. Okay. I'm still playing around with this new streaming software, or new to me anyway. It's called Streamlabs, and you can see in the top left corner here, you know, somewhere up here, that I've got my viewer count on both Twitch and YouTube. For those who don't know, I stream on both, so you know, pick a platform. And yeah, you're saying there's an echo. Interesting. Oh, it's because I don't have the fucking stream muted. Thanks. Yeah. All right, so that should help. Is that better? The echo should be removed now. Test, test, test. Also, garbage trucks already went by, so no garbage trucks today. Or there shouldn't be anyway. All right, so first let's start talking about, you know, this is gonna be my first stocks, pure, you know, equities stream. So I guess it's probably prudent to talk about the indices first. We can talk about a couple. The ones that I usually watch are, you know, the Dow Jones. I watch the ETF because it's easier to track the volume, but you know, if you want to watch, you know, just the normal one, it's the same trend because the ETF, you know, tracks the trend of the actual Dow Jones, but the volume just not as clean. But in the ETF, which is DIA, will give you like a little cleaner version of that. The price action's just slightly different, but you know, day to day, you know, intraday it's going to be slightly different, but day to day, the trend is like pretty spot on, and you know, it's just easier to keep track. Also, the units break down to, you know, hundreds rather than, you know, tens of thousands or whatever it is, so that's good too. So let's take a look at first the Dow Jones. So first and foremost, I think it's important to note that although we're kind of struggling to push a new high here, if we look at you know, just the 50 and 200 EMAs here, we see that they are both trending up, which is great. 200 never stopped trending upward. Let's see if we can draw. Yeah, so 200 never stopped trending upward, which is this guy. When we had this big pullback, you know, earlier on in the year, the 50 started sloping downward, and then right as it crossed, you know, this diagonal here, you know, the slope started heading up again. But overall, it's heading upward. And this morning, I actually took a long right in here, and I'll explain why I took a long here. If we look at the Ichimoku on just this, you know, the standard settings here, it pinged right off the Kijun here. I almost opened up a long on Friday, and I said, you know what, let's not open up a long over the weekend. There's no point. Maybe it'll gap down on Monday, and sure enough, it did. And so I opened up a long, you know, somewhere in here. I forget what the exact value of it was, but if you follow me on One Broker, you see that I opened a long for all you copy traders over there, and it was because of this. So if we look at 200 EMA, 50 EMA, they're both pointing up, right? Ichimoku has great bullish signals here. It's not the best at the Chikus in the cloud, but that's just due to the daily open. We could easily see a close above the cloud today. But for now, you know, like I said, these are trending upward. The Kumo is nice and thick and green. We see, you know, the bullish trend of the Tenkan trending above the Kijun here. And for now, we're finding support here. If we break through here, I'll be looking at the 50 EMA for further insight. And if it breaks below the 50 EMA, I'm just going to close along at a, you know, small loss. But yeah, you know, great risk to reward here. I think it's just a temporary pullback in an otherwise upward trend. Okay, and if we look at the this is the where is it? SPX, S&P. Okay, this is the ETF for the S&P 500. So just like the ETF for the Dow Jones, you can have DIA. Instead of SPX, you can have SPY, which again shifts the units down and you see a cleaner volume trend. But it does track the same sort of price action. So if we look here and I go to SPY, you know, it doesn't, or I'm sorry, SPX, it doesn't change a whole lot. Slight difference, but not a whole lot. But same sort of deal with S&P. You know, we see this upward trending market. The Chiku is not infringing upon the cloud, so this is slightly more bullish. Again, green Kumo. Have yet to test the Kijun here, so maybe we will, but that's not always required. So you see here, like before we pulled down through and then it came back up. So totally possible that's what we're doing here. And when we slap the 250 EMAs on there, we're going to see a similar trend. So we take this, you know, we do see a pretty strong upward trend for S&P. So 200 trending upward, 50 trending upward, you know, testing new highs here, not quite, but I imagine we're just coming down to test support, you know, at this value here, just to see how we're holding. But, you know, we're seeing volume expansion off the high. That's good. Or leading into the high, rather. And we did previously find support in the 50 EMA. So maybe we'll pull back to the 50 EMA. Totally possible. I'm not playing this index right now. Okay. All right, so moving forward, I'm playing how many? I've got longs on 4 different stocks right now, and I'll explain the setups and why I'm choosing to long those setups. So if we look at, first and foremost, let's look at GoPro. I think GoPro has the best setup right now, and I'll explain why. So if we look at the cloud on the daily, we see really great bullish signals here. Let's get rid of the 250 here. So looking at the daily cloud, we see a really great setup. If ever there was like a bullish like checklist of things that you want to see for a long, this is it, right? So we see the Chiku trending through the cloud. We see a nice green Kumo. We see the price finding support on both the Tenkan, the Tenkan and the Kijun, and we're opening green, so that's great, of course. But something else to note as well is this is making an inverted head and shoulders. So it's not the cleanest. I mean, it's pretty clean, don't get me wrong, but if we look here and we draw like 2 necklines, you know, there are multiple interpretations for an inverted head and shoulders. There's a diagonal one and like a horizontal one. And you see here that we just came down on Friday to test this support here. And of course, we opened green today. So the cloud plus the inverted head and shoulders, or we'll just say head and shoulders bottom, head and shoulders bot. This is a long for me. I've been long since, you know, a cumulative long since somewhere in here, and it's performing really well right now. Also, if we look at the Bollinger Bands on, what is it, the weekly? On the weekly, yeah, we're seeing a really beautiful squeeze coming out on the weekly candles. So we had a really great consolidation. So here's the inverted head and shoulders thing right here. And now we're seeing just now an expansion of the Bollinger Bands leading up, and we're just riding the Bollinger Bands upward as they begin to expand, and volume's expanding too. So this is like super, super great. We got the cloud, we got the Bollinger Bands, we got volume, we got price action, we've got a nice clean reversal pattern at the bottom. And I think there was one more. Was it the SMI? Is that what I'm thinking of? Yeah, so on the weekly SMI, which is this fun new momentum indicator we've been using over at the Bitcoin trading community. This is flipped green. We saw a really nice divergence going down in here, which is what you want to see if you're gonna play a reversal pattern like inverted head and shoulders. Like the pattern is great, but if you get some sort of other momentum indicator that's saying downward momentum slowing, then that's great. So we got cloud, we got B bands, we got SMI, volume, price action pattern. This is a go for me. I think this is going to have a really great macro long play. And especially once it gets up in here and starts trying to fill this gap, I think we're going to see some really great upward movement on GoPro. What else? Let's get back to the daily. Okay. Oh, NVIDIA. Oh, we'll talk about NVIDIA last, actually. We'll go from... Yeah, so next one, we'll talk about Intel. Intel is a fun one here too. So this is like the polar opposite of GoPro. So we see this nice rising wedge here, humongous. These are daily candles. We saw a really clean break, an attempted retest, and then today it opened a big fat red candle here. So that combined with this, again, with the momentum indicator, where it's just been diverging for a couple months now, this is a great sell opportunity. I took a short right on this candle right here and was really happy to see this gap down on the open today. If we look at something like I want to say the weekly. Yeah, the weekly is also diverging. So, and of course on the open today, it reached its apex. It's reached its apex here. So here's the wedge. We see divergence here on the SMI on the weekly, and I believe there is, if I'm remembering correctly, there's something going on in the Bollinger Bands. Trying to remember. There's so many fucking things going on. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. But yeah, so really great setup for a short opportunity here. I don't know if I would necessarily jump in like at this very moment, but that's up, that's up to you how you want to play that. I'm just giving you the setup here. And of course, like the typical price target for a rising wedge would be to measure the widest part. So for us, it's going to be from here to, somewhere up here. And then if we project that downward, we see this blue box here where we can expect to take profit down in here. I'm expecting it to have, a pretty stiff downward movement here because just because of how long it diverged, the size of the pattern, and yeah, so good short here for Intel. Moving over to Boeing. Boeing has a really great, I've been talking about this one for a few days now. Oh, we got a question here. I see multiple SMI. Oh yeah, sorry. Multiple SMI indicators on TradingView. So the one I use is the Lazy Bear one. This is the one that a lot of people in my trading group use as well. They find it to be kind of the cleanest. It default comes with a bunch of shit on it, and I've stripped it down to the bare bones just so I can see the oscillator. I don't care about any of that other stuff. I just want to see the oscillator for the momentum. So it's right here, SQZMOM. That's the squeeze momentum indicator by Lazy Bear. Let me see. Let me see if I can find it. This guy right here. It's the one with the most likes because it's the best. Okay, so let's talk about Boeing, because I think Boeing is going to be a really great long-term short. It's just setting up right now, so that remains to be seen. But in terms of like a short, it has great fundamentals. I'm not one to trade fundamentals, but if ever there were a trade fundamentals, Boeing would be a great candidate. So we'll talk about that. The chart looks like it's in distribution, so we'll talk about that. And the indicators are showing, you know, a lack of upward thrust, which if you look at Boeing's parabolic history, we're basically looking at a top of like a 3x move over the past year and a half. So, you know, you see it broke out of this trading range and it went on this run, and now it looks like it's distributing. So in terms of fundamentals, right? So Boeing, for those of you who don't know, Boeing is not only a commercial manufacturer of aerospace products, they also produce military. They're one of the largest military contractors next to like Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, and those kind of guys. So because of the you know, the peace agreements with Trump and all that stuff, this could be the catalyst for, you know, Boeing stock not performing as well in terms of like sell the news kind of thing. And if we look at, again, if we look at the daily SMI, we see really great divergence leading up into, you can call this an upthrust. I should probably label it as such, an upthrust in a distribution trading range. And not only that, but if we look at, this is really exciting. If we look at the 2-week trend on the Bollinger Bands, it's making a humongous M top reversal pattern. So if you're familiar with Bollinger Band setups, you know, we see the lower high, we see the higher high inside the Bollinger Bands, and it's set up with, granted, these are 2-week candles. This is a long time frame. We see a doji leading into, you know, he calls it gravestone, I guess. And now we're seeing the 2-week open here, and it's set up for a really great reversal with, keep in mind, the first price target of the Bollinger Band M tops are the midline, and the second will be the bottom. So the midline is the bottom of the trading range. So, you know, 319, if we go to the daily, you know, it's like right here, 317. So really great confluence of support there. I think we could definitely get there in 2 weeks. Especially if the sells start picking up like they did on the close on Friday. We see on Friday, sells really picked up on the close at the last minute. And now we're just kind of testing support. And once we break this level, you know, I'm looking to take profit right on this dashed line. But once it gets going, I'm fully expecting to see a major sign of weakness here, maybe a rally, and then a continuation of the downtrend. That 2-week trend combined with the daily SMI, and I believe the weekly SMI is diverging as well. Yeah, horrible divergence on the weekly SMI. It is just like asking to get shorted. With, on the weekly close, was a giant bearish engulfing candle. So this is just like checklist, like check of like all the things you'd want to look for a confident short. And this just has it all. So big fucking bearish engulfing candle on the weekly, 2-week M top, divergence on relevant timescales. So it looks like shit. And I've been short on it for, you know, a few days now. So I'm pretty happy with the way it opened today. Is Lockheed Martin going to follow? Yeah. So I've been talking about Lockheed stock for a while. I've been tracking it because someone I know was asking me, you know, for my opinion on Lockheed stock, you know, somewhere in here, because the earnings report came out, I think right on this candle, and they were like, oh, it dropped. Should I buy it? And my advice was I wouldn't touch it because at the time, you know, it was like right here. I think it was like 340s, 350s, whatever. I said it looked like a distribution, and it looks like a triple top setup for a distribution trading range. And sure enough, it just continued to dump and dump and dump. So right now for Lockheed, we're seeing a very similar distribution, not a similar setup, but a similar sort of theme, right? Like we're seeing the military contractors starting to distribute because most likely going to lose investor interest if we're not, you know, if we're not going to war with North Korea, then Lockheed Martin, you know, good fundamentals behind a short. It's basically exactly what I said for Boeing. But yeah, I believe Lockheed Martin is is on its last legs of distribution, where it did a last point of supply test here. A suckers rally here. We see high volume leading up here, and ultimately this was we call this. So if this is distribution, this main guy is distribution. The technical term for this would be stepping stone. Stepping stone redistribution, which is basically like you get a last point of supply with like a nested distribution as a last point of supply. And you can see we're starting to mark down here on decent volume. Volume's expanding on the way down, which doesn't look very good for the bulls right now. So yeah, I think Lockheed Martin's going to have a continuation of the downtrend, which, I mean, isn't terribly surprising. Just like Boeing, it's like on the tail end of like this humongous fucking multi-year run. So I wouldn't be surprised to see it, have a major pullback. But yeah, for now, I wouldn't personally. I'm not going to be looking to long Lockheed Martin stock until I see evidence of buyer activity and accumulation by the composite operator, because this does look like a distribution trading range. What else am I long on? So we talked about GoPro, we talked about Intel, talked about Boeing. Oh, NVIDIA. So NVIDIA is interesting right now. So when I first looked at NVIDIA, I thought that it might be a distribution trading range. And I still don't know how I feel about it. I'm currently long on NVIDIA, but I'm waiting for the daily close to give me more insight as to whether I should just close it or flip short or what. But we'll talk about the NVIDIA trading range right here. So it has a lot of signs of distribution, but it also has signs of reaccumulation. And that's what's tricky with these trading ranges, is like, this could be a reaccumulation trading range where it's about to mark up, or it could be the first half of distribution and it's about to, go back down for a sign of weakness. And that's the tricky thing about trading. That's the tricky thing about trading with trading ranges, is that the first half of distribution and reaccumulation are very similar. Okay, so this could be an upthrust in an otherwise distribution trading range, or it could be a continuation of the uptrend. So we'll talk about both of those. Right now, the signs, we'll go through the signs of reaccumulation first, and then we'll go talk about the signs of distribution. So, here's the typical labelings. We see the buying climax, automatic reaction, secondary test. This is a secondary test as well. What initially had me leaning toward distribution was this trend right here. So we see that the price pokes down. You can argue that the trading range starts right here. Okay, that argument would be valid in my opinion. This is the most conservative way of viewing it. Either way, you could call this a sign of weakness. Okay, I'm saying you could. One thing that is the counter argument to that is that although it's on expanding volume on the way down, we don't see the spread on the price action is kind of shitty, right? Like it's not going down and coming up, right? It's doing this and then it's coming up. Like you see the choppy action here, it comes up, it retests, and when it retests, it makes a new low on, no volume here. Where's the volume, right? So this is a really great setup in a reaccumulation trading range where you get a secondary test that pokes a new low, but it's on low volume and it functions like a spring, right? So typically a spring, you see it come down here below the trading range to go up. Well, sometimes you get the same sort of functioning secondary test where it pokes a new low, shakes some people out, and then it rallies. And that's what we see, right? So we see a secondary test where it pokes a new low, no volume, and then an immediate reaction where we see our jump across the creek here. We see expanding price. You see an expansion in volume on the way up, which is great for bulls. We see an expansion of price spread, which is, again, great for bulls. We see this sign of strength where it pokes out of the trading range. We see a return to the trading range for a back up to the edge of the creek, which is like, this is a great setup where it comes down here, it retraces probably like 38%. The most you really want to see on a BUEC or something like this is you really don't want to see it go past the 50. Once it gets past 50, it gets kind of shady. So a general rule of thumb when trading with trading ranges is that if it retraces more than 50%, you really don't want to long it because it indicates an excess of supply is still present in the market. But that's not what we see here. So if we go, if we did fib retracements from here, it would be, some like 38% retracement. It bounced off, made a new high. And right now it's kind of struggling. It's not really feeling like it wants to make a new high. Granted, it is making new highs. It's making higher lows. So maybe it just needs to come down, retest this sign of strength, and then come up. But for the time being, I'm currently long on it. And then I'm going to look for the daily close to give me further insights as to whether I should close it, maybe long a little lower or what. But we did gap down on the open today. We gapped down, we filled it with this wick, and now we're retracing. So could be a setup for bullish continuation. But if we look at the SMI on the daily, it is diverging right now. It hasn't flipped. You see the light green to the dark green where it indicates the momentum is now reversing. Hasn't flipped yet, so we got to give it time. Typically, you don't really want to say things are diverging until you see this flip. But if we look at the weekly, for example, it is currently diverging, but we don't see the flip yet. And if we look at the monthly, it actually looks, not bad. So if we look at the Bollinger Bands, oh, Jesus Christ. Let's look at the Bollinger Bands on the weekly. Nothing terribly crazy. We do see a squeeze. It's coming out of the squeeze, and it's riding up on the upper Bollinger Bands. And we do see a potential M top setup on the 2-week, but we don't see any curving B bands. We don't see any other signs that we're going to reverse here. So it would be kind of a shitty setup if it was going to be an M top. And even if it did, it wouldn't push a new low on this 2-week trend. So in my opinion, NVIDIA still looks bullish. I'm hoping I don't close this long, but if I do, I'll most likely be closing it in profit. So let's throw you back on the hourly. Okay, what else? Oh, a question from Twitch. What exchange do I use? I use one broker. I've actually posted a link in the oh, you can't see it, shit, because you're on. I'll post my referral link in the Twitch chat. Yeah, I use that. I use one broker. One broker is actually pretty sweet. I was initially reluctant to trade the equities markets just because I for whatever reason had this misconception that it's more for like long-term investing, which it is, right? Because it does move slower. But with one broker, you can actually trade. Like I'm trading GoPro and I'm trading Nvidia and Boeing and Intel on 15x leverage. Okay. I'm trading it on 15x leverage, and not only that, but I'm trading it with Bitcoin as my collateral. So one broker is kind of fucking awesome because it's easy in, easy out with the Bitcoin, and there's no know your customer financial disclosure. So it's a really great meeting between the traditional markets and the crypto markets, and it's got a really clean interface, and I've been liking it a lot. And not only that, but like you guys can see my public trades. So like you can see like what trades I'm currently long on, how they're performing, and yeah. And one cool feature about one broker is that you can copy trades. So it's like you can go there, and you can allocate certain amount of funds to whatever I'm doing, and it'll automatically copy my trades. So if you're interested in doing that, that option is available on one broker, and it's pretty cool. So. Anyway, I just rattled off some shit. Oh, before I open it up to questions, I do want to talk about Tesla. Tesla's really interesting right now. I'm not in a position on Tesla, but me and a bunch of dudes in my trading group are looking to go long on Tesla here, and I'll explain why. So Tesla was looking like shit for a while, right? It had, you know, people in the news are saying, oh, Tesla's dead, blah, 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 which is what you want to see for like a spring, right? This initially looked like distribution, but then this, we call this, you know, a terminal shakeout, you can call this. It's really aggressive to just be a spring. It's really a terminal shakeout. Terminal shakeout, where it just like really punctures deep on very high volume, and then out of nowhere, boom, it pops up, right? I didn't catch this play at all, but what I am looking to play is I'm looking to play this back up to the edge of the creek where it reaches, you know, as I said earlier, you really don't want to play BUECs that retrace more than 50%. So I'm looking right in here, you know, somewhere in this band of prices to go long, because I think Tesla's gonna be a monster. After this terminal shakeout, the composite operator got a lot of control over the market, and I think it's gonna perform really well. I'm definitely not gonna long here because this is just asking to see a big retracement, but I'm also not gonna short it either. So I'm just gonna be patient, sit on my hands, and look to long right in this area where I have this like label. What's the name of the indicator below the volume? So that's called it's called SMI, or the squeeze momentum indicator. It's an indicator built by this dude Lazy Bear. So if you just search squeeze momentum indicator, you see this one right here with a shitload of likes. That's the one. What's your one broker account name? It's Bitcoin Schmitcoin. It's just my name. I'll post it here. This is my account name. Okay, so there's a question, do you compare relative strength / leadership in your technical analysis? I mean, equity against industry / so I'm not sure what you're asking, so I'm assuming no. Will you be covering crypto today? Not in this stream. I'll be streaming crypto tonight. This is just for equities. When did that Tesla price start going back up again? A couple weeks ago. Where is that? On this page? Yeah, a couple weeks ago. I had this really bad shakeout. Oh, it was a couple months ago, actually. Sorry. I had this really bad shakeout, and then it recently had a really good rally a couple weeks ago. Did you go over your Dow long yet? Just got here. Yeah, that was the first thing I talked about in the stream. So if you just rewind it, then yeah, that was the first thing I talked about, was my long on Dow Jones, which is playing out pretty well right now. And also what's really nice is that on one broker, on some indices, you get 50x leverage. So this long that I took here is on 50x leverage, and it's doing pretty well right now. It's up. It's already up 23. It's already up 24%. So kudos to you if you copied that trade. Fucking garbage truck just went by. I thought you guys were gone. Fucking garbage trucks. Which is the best momentum indicator? What do you think? So, I have not been liking momentum indicators as of late, but one that I really like was introduced to me by a dude in my Discord, and that's the squeeze momentum indicator. And I'll talk about why I like that. It's because first of all, has a really great track record, and it's not as prone to false signals by volatility. Like, for example, if we look at, I'll pull up the MACD, for example, right? So if we look up at the top, and if we look at like the same period of time, so here's the MACD. Okay, and we'll do a quick comparison right now. So let's get rid of you, and I'll throw up the SMI below it as well. Shit. Can I not search it like that? God, I wish you could do that. Squeeze momentum indicator. Okay, so let's push you up. Oh man, I'm gonna have to. Okay, let me fuck with it real quick. Get rid of that. Okay, that wasn't so bad. Okay, so let's look at the squeeze momentum indicator versus the MACD, for example, which is really common. And let's look at it over a period of like 2 weeks. Okay, so one thing you notice with the squeeze momentum indicator is it's less sensitive. Okay, so if we were to look at the MACD, let's pull this, make you a little bigger, and I could probably get rid of you too, huh? And let's get rid of Bollinger Bands and look at just price action. Okay, this looks good. So one thing you'll notice is that the squeeze momentum indicator doesn't flip to red as quick, right? But what it does do is it's really great at spotting the divergence when it's actually diverging, right? So you can get in on better trades. So if we're looking at the MACD, for example, you see here that it was diverging, okay? Granted, the oscillator is moving up, so this divergence isn't the best. But one thing you do see is that as this thing makes new highs here, this MACD is giving divergent signals. Not only that, but as this uptrend is still continuing, MACD is crossing and it's actually flipping red. Okay, squeeze momentum indicator hasn't done that. If you were to trade the squeeze momentum indicator based on just like when it flips to red, or when the divergence is very heavy, you get really great entries because it's less sensitive, I should say, right? And if we look at something right now, Tesla's not the best because it's kind of been horizontal. But if we look at something like Boeing stock is going to be a great example. So let's look at RSI too. We'll compare them. We'll do like the Pepsi challenge. Okay, so let's get rid of volume. And we'll zoom in. Is this daily? Yeah, this is daily. Okay. So first of all, in general, I don't really use RSI. And when I do, I especially don't use it for overbought and oversold signals. The only thing I would use it for personally is I would use it for divergent signals. But even then, it doesn't give you the cleanest signals. And let's see if we can find some examples. Right now, these are actually lining up pretty well. So let's see if we go to the 1 week or the 2 week. Now these are actually comparing pretty well. So maybe I take that back. RSI is giving fairly similar signals. You know, you do see some discrepancies here, like as the price is trending upward, for example, this thing is diverging downward as this is going upward. Meanwhile, the squeeze momentum indicator is showing strength. So this could be a false signal, especially as it pulled back right here. So if we're looking at something like this, I'm sure a lot of people got stuck in a short here when really it was showing strength on the squeeze momentum indicator. So, and this was diverging the whole way. So, you know, this is just an example of it being, it like filters out some of the noise. And it shows just a more pure signal of strength in a given direction. Here's an example of one right here, right? I'm sure there are several others. Oh, here's one right here, right? So this thing was diverging. SMI was showing strength until it ultimately actually did top, and then, you know, it dumped. But yeah, it's really just preference. Like, in my opinion, I don't know that there's like a quote unquote better. It just depends on like how you like to play it. You know, it's I used to play MACD a lot more. And these days I'm just kind of leaning away from it. It gives a lot of really false signals, and it's just not really good for my trade strategy. But combining SMI with Bollinger Bands really works for my trade strategy, and I'm loving it a lot. But, you know, you just got to find what works for you. What works for me may not necessarily work for you, and, you know, vice versa. So it's just personal preference. Is it a good time to buy silver/gold/metals and or miners? So I've been eyeballing the silver setup for a while, but I'm not looking to go long on this anytime soon. This is like a long-term investment, if anything, right? So silver is showing signs that it's in accumulation right now, but I'm not looking to long any of this shit until it proves it can break this level right here, this preliminary support, this dashed line right here. Until silver breaks up and finds support here and continues upward, I'm not even playing silver whatsoever. But I do think it's a great setup. You know, this could always test new lows, and I don't want to get caught up in a long in here. I'd rather just take the hit on like the dollar movement here for the extra like reassurance that it's actually going to be a great investment. Can you recommend any specific stocks? Well, I'm definitely not going to. Okay, so here's the thing. That question is encroaching upon financial advice. So I'm definitely not going to advise you on taking stocks. I'm gonna list. This whole stream was about me listing the stocks that I'm currently playing and why. What you choose to do with that information is up to you. But I'm definitely not going to say I'm recommending stocks because I'm not. But you know, I've given my opinion on stocks that I believe are going to perform well, and I'm acting on them. And you know, and I do post my trades publicly. So, what do you think of Restoration Hardware? Is that a stock or is Restoration Hardware? Let's see. I don't even know what the hell that is. What is Restoration Hardware? I don't think. What's the ticker for Restoration Hardware? High-end furniture. I'll have to look at the chart, but I haven't Okay. Oh, this is a fairly new stock, huh? Oh, Jesus Christ, look at that gap. The fuck? Dude, stocks are so crazy the way they gap up like that. That's fucking nuts, dude. That was a 20% move in a gap, and it didn't even retest to fill it. Damn. Okay. Well, right off the bat, this looks like accumulation down here for sure. My God. Dude, I don't know what to make of this. This is like, I mean, it definitely had accumulation. Okay, let's talk about that. So it definitely had accumulation down here. It looks like it underwent reaccumulation right around here, and right now we're seeing the breakout of the reaccumulation. So you know, you mark reaccumulation like this. Had a spring. Last point of supply, and now it broke out. Jesus, dude, that is nuts. Wow. Personally, man, okay. So I'm gonna say this with a grain of salt, but personally, I don't like charts like this. Okay, like charts that are irrationally bullish scare me as much as charts that are irrationally bearish because they're not. I don't feel as confident looking at those charts and making entries. Like for example, with this reaccumulation trading range, I would expect to see a retracement to possibly fill this gap, retest support of some kind, but it doesn't have a history of doing that, right? Like it gapped up here and never filled it. I guess you can say it retested the support here, but here, like for example, it gapped up, it never retested support and never had a retracement. So this thing could just be irrationally bullish. This looks like a heavily manipulated stock where the composite operator accumulated very little or very much of the remaining free floating supply down here, and now it's just having a field day. So I would be careful, but I mean it's definitely looking like accumulation to reaccumulation, and ultimately markup as it's pushing new all-time highs. Like it gapped up crazily. Okay, we can do some lightning round analysis right here. Someone asked me about Twitter. I have it pulled up. Yeah. So on Twitter, currently not playing it, but I am keeping track of it. So Twitter looks like it underwent accumulation down here, and now it's beginning the markup phase. Okay, so we had. So I don't know why this isn't labeled. I probably should have labeled this already. So here, what in the hell is that? I hope you guys don't hear that. There's a fucking like diesel truck on my residential street. What in the fuck is that thing doing here? God, Atlanta's so weird. They're just like, anyway. Okay, so Twitter is marking up, right? So we see selling climax. Let's go ahead and label it together. So we see the selling climax. Automatic reaction. Secondary test. Sign of strength for show. And typically, a sign of strength had a lot of overhead supply, so we of course came down. Here's your little creek, and this would be secondary test. It didn't look like it really needed a spring, obviously. Here's your last point of support. And And here's your sign of strength that ultimately led to the breakout. Okay, and this is the kind. So when I was talking about with restoration hardware, okay, where it broke out and it has yet to retrace, this is what I was talking about. So it breaks out and then it retraces. This is typically where you'd want to enter long, but restoration hardware doesn't have a history of doing that, so it's kind of weird. Twitter is behaving a little bit more predictably, so that would bring comfort to me if I was longing this. But I didn't catch a long here. These are, keep in mind, these are weekly candles. Okay, so Twitter looks pretty good actually, and I believe if we go to the daily, I want to say the cloud is looking bullish if I remember correctly. Where's my cloud? Cloud. Yeah, so cloud was looking bullish. That's right. Okay, so these are daily. Oh, it's okay. Sorry, it was looking really good on the weekly. So here's the accumulation on the weekly. Same sort of shit we were talking about before. 250 pushing upward, GQ pushing upward. It's kind of just riding the Tenkan support. But yeah, Twitter looks very bullish right now. I'm looking to take a long position, but I'm definitely not going to long while it's just like shooting straight up. Like I'm gonna look for something like on a retest or something like that. It's most likely gonna. I would have to guess. You know, once it comes up into this price range right here, you know, somewhere here, that you know, we'll make this dashed. That, you know, it's going to encounter some sort of resistance here. There's going to be a lot of people trapped in long positions here, I would have to imagine. They're going to look to get out. So maybe it'll shoot up and see a bit of a retracement and I'll go long there. But right now, I don't see a good setup personally for my strategy to go long. Daily B bands are expanding. Okay. 3-day, how does that look? Expanding. Weekly, just now expanding. Yeah, this would have been a beautiful long entry because we see the retracement, contraction of the B bands, and now on the breakout of this retest, it's expanding. So this would have been a really great entry here. And I don't know why my volume bars are doing this now. They were like putting this little bit of space in there, and it's really fucking annoying. How did you place indicators on the toolbar? Oh, you just, like if you go here, you can just hit a little star, and this is like my favorites panel. I'm assuming you're talking about here. Just a quick access thing. So if I want to do a line, you go here, you know, instead of being like, oh, I want to search through here. It's just a quick sort of thing. Oh no, you said how did I put indicators up there? Oh, it's using templates. So if I have a template, like say for example, I'm using these indicators here, I would go to template and I would click save indicator template, and I'd be like template name, and I would click, you know, save or whatever, and then whenever I make my templates, you can star them. It puts it up there. So you can see I have quite a few, but these are the ones that, you know, I use the most. So. Oh man, GoPro's seeing some action. Glad I added to my short. I mean my long. I added like right on this wick right here. I think I got in at like 6.05 and it wicked down and snagged my long entry. So I'm really happy about that. And Nvidia is really breaking my heart right now. I don't know why the fuck it's struggling so bad. But Boeing's doing really well. Boeing and Intel are doing great. For sure. I need to keep an eye on Twitter. I'm gonna set a little alarm right here so if it comes up and tags this little area, I'll know about it. And similarly, I'll put a little tag right here if it retraces. I'm also watching Snapchat, although why is it on? Not really. Snapchat, the chart just looks like dog shit, so I'm not really looking to play it, but it did gap up, or it gapped down, it refilled the gap, so that's kind of interesting, but no real trending market, no discernibly trending market from what I can tell. Also, guys, just want to remind you, if you'd like this kind of analysis, check out my Discord, my trading community at bitcoinschmittcoin.com. You can check out the link in the description, and yeah, so I talk about my trades and all that stuff there. I talk about equities, and also, of course, crypto. Right, crypto is my baby. So a lot of people are concerned that I'm like abandoning crypto for some reason. I don't know why. I'm just playing it on a higher time frame because the crypto market is trending like dog shit right now, and I don't see any reason to throw money at a market that's, not trending very well, when I can just play the equities market, and it's trending really well. Like these are such easy plays compared to crypto. It's a no-brainer. Can you please look at IIPR? IIPR, Innovative Industrial Properties, looks like it's in a 2-week M top, which could be a sign that it's going to come down and test 27, or this area down here. I don't like this kind of setup personally. I don't know why my indicators aren't showing up there. Yeah, it's showing a sign of weakness here as it dips below the Kijun. Not the best looking stock right now. Yeah. That's interesting. So the daily 200 EMA is down here at 27, which is also the 2-week, I'm sorry, 2-week B-band's midline. So I personally wouldn't be looking long this. This looks like it's kind of struggling at the moment. Yeah, we're seeing a bit of divergence on like the 2-day SMI. That's just my 2 Satoshis on that one. Anyway, do you guys have any questions about any of this stuff? Oh, damn. Man, that Intel short is looking really great. Let's check on the, yeah, Dow Jones is looking good too. Everything but Nvidia is looking good in terms of my trades right now. Nvidia is it's like slightly red. What is it? It's like Nvidia's down how many percent? Like 0.5%. Nvidia. Yeah. down 3%. Wait, no, it's not. What? What is going on here? This is weird. Where's my fucking... I'm very confused right now. So one broker is posting that I have 3 positions open and all 3 are positive. What? Am I missing something? I must be overlooking something. Anyway, NVIDIA is just slightly red. All the other ones are doing really well. I'm really happy with my positions right now. So if you're interested in trading these stocks, check out my referral link in the description below, and you can see my trades and sign up there, and you can deposit with Bitcoin. So win-win-win. Do you see a potential major correction in the stock market soon? No, I don't. The trend and price model are both pointing toward upward, a potential upward future. So anyway, let's go ahead and wrap it up. That was a good first stock market stream. I'm gonna try to do them every Monday morning, so we can talk about the weekly open and talk about expectations for the week, and then compare week to week. So look for it next Monday morning, or maybe Sunday night. Sunday night might be better, but sometimes I just don't feel like doing shit on Sundays. So anyway, you guys have a great morning. Yeah, again, if you're interested in joining my trading community, go to bitcoinschmitcoin.com. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me. Subscribe on YouTube, and show your friends. Okay. Thanks for your support, and have a great morning.